Hey guys, Nicole here with Obscure Reptiles and Caging, and today we're going to be talking about breeding bearded dragons. So let's get started. So we're going to be doing a bearded dragon breeder guide. So the first thing is you want to make sure you have a male and a female. When they are older, it's really easy to tell just by looking at them. Males are going to be a lot larger, their heads are going to be bigger, but the only really accurate way to do it is you will gently grab them by their tail. You're going to lift them up, and a female is going to look like this. It just kind of rounds out like this. But if you grab a male, this is a boy, you can see these two lumps right here. That means you have a male. So once you have a male and a female, you want to make sure that they are big enough to actually breed. You're going to want your male to be at least 350 grams and you want your female to be at least 400 grams. You do not want to breed your bearded dragon if they are too small, because that can really harm them. You want to make sure that they are big enough. Normally that means the female is over 18 months, normally closer to about 2 years old, and same with the male. You want to make sure your female is in perfect condition because breeding takes a lot out of them. The best way to start them getting into breeding mode is making sure that they've gone through brumation. For those of you who do not know, it's kind of like hibernation, but they're not going to be completely asleep. Bearded dragons definitely are very lethargic when they're in brumation. Normally it's right around the winter months. It can last a month or a couple of months, and it's very easy to tell when your dragon is actually in brumation. You can turn down all of the temperatures and kind of force them to go through it, and you can pick when they do it. Or like us, we just let them do it when they are ready to, and it's very easy to tell because they're not going to be eating, they don't go by their hot spot, and they basically look like they're sleeping. They'll still kind of acknowledge that you're there, but you want to kind of leave them alone, let them rest, and as soon as they wake up from brumation, that's when you're going to start breeding. Once they've woken up from this, you're wanting to make sure that they are eating a really good amount for you. You're going to want to make sure that they're getting good protein like crickets, dubias, fresh salads, fresh vegetables, fruit, stuff like that. You want to make sure they are in great condition, and especially those females, you're going to want to make sure you are giving them calcium, because when they actually have and make their eggs, normally they have around 20 eggs. They can have anywhere from 10 to almost 30 eggs per clutch, and they can have multiple clutches throughout the year. So you want to make sure they have enough calcium to be able to make those eggs, because after they've actually laid, they look almost like they've been stepped on. So you want to make sure that they are going to have good, fertile, and healthy eggs. We went and got some footage for you guys, so here is what we got. We actually had to kind of hide around the corner to get a lot of the footage because the males were getting a little bit shy if we walked up to the cage while they were breeding. What we actually do is we will put the male and female in there together, but only supervised for a couple of hours. We don't find a need to put them in there for a couple of weeks or anything like that. We'll just put them in there for a couple of hours, and after the male starts to lose interest and they go to different sides of the cage, that's when we separate them, and that's it. If we actually see them locking, we'll wait about a week, do it again, and then another time. So normally we only breed about 3 or 4 times. But once that female actually starts to get larger, you can actually start to feel the eggs in her stomach, we will no longer breed and we will let her be. A few things you're going to be looking for when bearded dragons are breeding is the male is going to get a very black beard. He's going to be bobbing his head. He's going to be puffing up, he's going to be very dominant. That's what you're looking for, and it can look pretty violent. So a nice trick, especially if you're really nervous about this, make sure your female is not a leatherback. She's going to have smoother skin, it's going to be a little bit more fragile skin, and the male will actually bite the back of the female's neck. If they're a normal scale, they have a lot more protection, and that might help set you at ease when you see how aggressive they can actually be when breeding. That's another reason why we'll only do it supervised for a couple of hours. That way we're monitoring it and we know that both the male and especially that female are both okay. When your female is actually receptive, you will see her do something, it's called waving. She will take her arm and lift it around. She will keep on doing it, and she'll actually start to do things like little low push-ups. This is the best footage we could get because we kind of had to be around the corner and really zoomed in just because the males were getting nervous when we walked up and we didn't want to interrupt anything. But when a male is truly locked up, this is the clip of, this is Bubba and Homegirl. He's got her by the neck, their tails are wrapped, and that's really all that it is. So once you've seen that, that is a confirmed lock. There is a very good chance that you are going to be getting eggs. As a female is getting closer to having eggs, the first thing obviously is going to be her stomach is going to be bloating a little bit. You very gently pick up the female and kind of do this to her belly again, very gently. Sometimes you'll actually start to feel lumps. When you feel that, that's actually the eggs in her. That's the best way I know that a female is going to be having her eggs for sure, because you can actually feel them. You don't know if they'll be good or not or anything like that, but at least you know she has eggs and you do not need to breed anymore at this time. You want to make sure you have somewhere for them to lay their eggs. We tried something new with Homegirl and it did not work, so I don't recommend. We actually took an extra large snake hide, flipped it, put sand and substrate and dirt and water and made sure it was perfect for her to lay her eggs, and instead she went right to the back when she laid her eggs. But unfortunately only about 8 of them were good, but again, this is the male's first season, so that's still not bad. We still got eggs, and hopefully we'll still be getting more eggs from them. It only takes from 4 to 6 weeks for her to have her eggs. Mark down exactly when they're breeding, and once you start to feel eggs, go back to the last time you paired, and then all you have to do is do the math. When she's within a couple of days of actually having those eggs, they run around a lot. They're scratching at the walls, scratching at the ground, scratching in their water dish. So one thing we like to do is we put a very small water dish, because we don't want them to have any eggs in there. And when we think it's very close to actually having those eggs, so we've done the math, she's doing all the correct signs, we know she has eggs, we will actually set up a lay box. What we'll do is we will take a very large bin. We'll take a very large bin. We're talking something that's like 3 foot by 2 foot by about 2 feet tall. And what we will do is we will fill that whole thing with about 5-6 inches of dirt and sand mixture over the whole thing. We'll then go and hang some heat lamps. Throw a UVB lamp right on top of that as well, and then every day we will take out that female, put her in there, so if she's going to have her eggs, that's a safe place for her to be able to have her eggs. Before the light turns off at night, we make sure to put her back into her enclosure. Before we put her in there every morning, we also make sure she's well fed, but if she's really close to having those eggs, generally they are not going to eat for you. So that's another really good sign to know that your dragon is about to have eggs. Once she has officially had her eggs, make sure you do not flip those eggs around. You want to leave them in the same orientation from when you find them. So you're going to grab them, you're going to put them in whatever you're going to be using to incubate them. We like to use vermiculite. We put it into a 6-quart bin, we mix it up with some water, then we set them on top, put them in the incubator. If you are going to have dragon eggs or any kind of reptile eggs, make sure you have an incubator, it's ready to go, it's all set, and you've tested it before you start breeding. There are so many people who get eggs and they're not prepared. So make sure before you even start breeding, you've got the incubator, you've set it to the proper temperature, you've tested it for a few days, and you know it's ready to go. So that way, once you get eggs, no matter when it is, you just have to plug it in and you're ready to start. Dragon eggs can kind of be difficult to see good versus infertile when they first come out. They're really not going to have huge veins like ball python eggs can. They sometimes will have a little bit of a red halo in there, but pretty much you're not going to see too much in the first at least couple of days. If they are nice white eggs, no matter what, you're going to put them in the incubator. If they're oranges or yellows, you can still incubate them if you want to, but generally those are not going to be the good eggs. What I like to do is I will do actually 2 different bins. One will be the questionable eggs. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not. And then one is full of all those pearly white, perfect looking eggs. That way, if some start to rot or go bad or mold, it's not going to spread to all the good eggs. That's a good trick just to be able to make sure all your good eggs stay good. The eggs will take about 60 days to hatch, give or take, and we like to incubate right around 84 degrees. People do a lot of different temperatures that can range from 80 to even higher than 85. But after about 4 or 5 days in the incubator, we will open up the bin and check them out. Any eggs that have started to rot or mold or have deflated, you could just tell that they are bad, they have an odor. Those ones we will then dispose of, and we will keep all of the good eggs. At that point, we'll normally put all of them into one bin, so we only have to worry about one bin in the incubator, and then that's it. About every 7 to 10 days, we'll open it up and peek just to make sure none of the other eggs have gone bad. But that's it. In about 60 days, if everything has gone well, you'll have some baby bearded dragons. When all of this is going on, after your female has had her eggs, after about 2 weeks of she's eating, she's healthy, she's gained her weight back, she looks back to normal, you are giving her a really good healthy diet of bugs, fresh vegetables, as much food as she wants, and you're giving her a lot of calcium powder. Make sure she's recovering after having all those eggs. You can actually breed her again. Same as before, you're going to breed her. Every time you see a confirmed lock, make sure you mark it down. Bearded dragons can have 2, 3, 4 up to 5 or 6 clutches in a year, as long as they're consecutive. But you want to stop if your female ever starting to get slim. But if you have a large, healthy bearded dragon female, some of them can lay a whole bunch of clutches, and each of them could be 20 or 30 eggs. Normally throughout the breeding season, if you're getting multiple clutches, you're going to get less and less eggs each time, but it's really up to you to decide how many clutches she should have based on her age, her body size, how she's recovering, and just how she's acting for you. So make sure you're not overbreeding that animal. Make sure her health is going to come above everything else. We actually have a hatchling bearded dragon care guide. I'll link it in the description below if you guys haven't seen that. We go over everything when it comes to baby bearded dragons. We're really hoping to get some hypos this year and really nice quality reds for you guys. If you have any questions, you guys can put them in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We do videos every single Wednesday, and we'll see you next Wednesday.